Amazing. Hello and welcome to, I think, which is now episode 5 of Ârc Live. Thank you for watching. We're here to chat to a few of the incredible people that are actually in the frontier right now at Network School here in the Singapore-Johor Special Economic Zone. Hopefully you join us soon. But Ida, thank you for joining me right now.
Yeah,
why are you here in... I mean, what's kind of interesting about these pictures behind us is that when you look out there, it's almost part of the same picture, right? Like it's green, blue,
easily as good. Easily as good.
I
think the only thing that we're missing perhaps is like that cocktail bar on the terrace thing. But like,
there is that cocktail bar on the terrace down there, just no one uses it, right? Like.
Well, and they don't have the good gin, so we can work on that. But
It is quite funny. I literally just had a meeting outside the cocktail bar, right? And never have I seen a cocktail bar so unused.
Yeah, I tried, but they don't have the good gin, so we can work on the.
Never mind.
We've got everything. We've got everything except that.
But what brings you to Network School?
Well, I think it would fit in with the whole point of this place, which is like, we're in fundraising mode for building our own version of this, and this felt like the best place to be fundraising. So I think, when I hear Balaji talk about like dark talent and creating a place that's like super well connected and the best place to be to go and build, then I think that right now they're achieving that, and like that's why we came here. So we wanted to fundraise, we wanted to build something, and this was the place to be.
No, okay. So they'd be more explicit for us though. So what are you fundraising for?
Yeah, we're fundraising for Switzerland, which is a Swiss network state society sandbox, and aims to be, along with a permanent village, an accelerator for DIAC and open source technology. And we had our pop-up in May and had 200 people there for a month at a Swiss ski resort. Now we're working more long-term with the ski resort, and we're also working with Canton Zug and the universities there to build a permanent hub in Canton Zug and have more like an urban hub and an alpine ski resort hub. So that's what we're up to.
I mean, it sounds like a fairly small amount of things.
No, nothing at all, really. Just
maybe break that down for some people that are watching, right? So I think one of the phrases that you use there that might require some explaining for some people listening is DIAC, as an example. What's DIAC?
So in 2024, if I've got that right, Vitalik wrote an essay called My Techno-Optimism in response to some of the sort of like Silicon Valley accelerationist stuff that was going on. And he basically laid out like, all of us agree technology is good. Let's accelerate technology, have more of this. But along with the good of technology can come the bad things. And especially with things like AI, there are certain dangers. And do we want to, basically he asks, which future are we accelerating towards? And what, if we're accelerating towards the default outcome, which is that probably a lot of extremely powerful technologies are owned and controlled by single people or companies, how do we shift that to a world where we're accelerating towards retaining freedom and human agency over things? And, if the most optimistic outcomes of AI happen, and it seems likely that they will, do we want to have an AGI controlled by a single person? Do we want Elon Musk to control a brain-computer interface that is in our brain, or would we like that to be open source? And I personally would prefer anything that's in touch with my brain to be open source and verifiable what's actually being done. So that's kind of, the DIAC thing basically says we want more of these technologies and we want to accelerate, but we want to do it in a defensive way. We want to do things that are decentralized, democratic, and differential. And I think differential is like one of the things in that essay that not enough people talk about. And it's like differential I would put as like nuanced, saying for each different situation we look and we figure out how to integrate these different things in a way that actually matches that situation and technology. And why we're building in Switzerland, to come back to that, is that like over 700 years, Switzerland's developed a sort of a cultural technology around decentralization and around dialogue and nuance. And that's the thing I think that I appreciate most now after having lived there for nearly 10 years, is it's a society that values nuance and dialogue and figuring things out with like multiple angles and bringing like a level of consensus. And so it's not always as fast as what you might get in Silicon Valley, but they're still number one in the world for innovation per capita for a nation state. And so I kind of always say, like, if Silicon Valley is move fast and break things, then Switzerland is like move fast and try not to break things. And that's why we're there.
Really interesting element of this sort of discussion of building new societies, new states, new systems, whatever it is, right? Like, what rights do you have? Do you have a right just because you were born somewhere?
Yeah.
Or do you have to earn that right?
Yeah.
Or actually, even if you've earned that right, do you have to keep earning that right? Like, do you get something for life because you did something 40 years ago and you're still not treating this as a verb, to use your language? I think that's like a very interesting reflection on the relationship and the role, and just like sort of like the angle that you should sort of like have with society. I like that a lot. But okay, so yeah, beautiful explanation, I think, of both DIAC and sort of like how Switzerland is probably some of the nearest sort of encapsulation in the modern world to that. More to Switzerland then again with you within that, right? I guess like, yeah, what are you, just again, what are you trying to build here? Like what's the goal here?
I mean, like, really it boils down to two things. One is like a place that I will enjoy living and where the people around me and my neighbors, the people I will be like excited to come down and have dinner with on a regular basis, or like share a fun moment and just live near people I like. Like, that's number one. But number two, and I think more importantly, because actually in Switzerland I have a pretty nice life already, the second part, more important, a place where we can accelerate these kinds of technologies and also proliferate that to wider society. And hopefully Switzerland is just a pilot for a network of more villages like this that we build up as a transnational network, and where we're accelerating more of these defensive, democratic, differential, and decentralized things. If you want to make it more concrete, like, where would the next Aave, Uniswap, Ethereum go to build? Or if someone wants to build the decentralized version of Slack, if they want to build the decentralized version of YouTube, where would they go to build that? And I would hope that that would be Switzerland or something like it.
That's a great flag. Yeah, it's like a calling beacon.
But am I allowed to ask questions, too? Can I reflect back, like, what are you building?
Oh God, no! This is no. Let's not go that far. Let's not go that far.
Okay.
Let's bask in the ambiguity of the question. Like here, I wouldn't want to make this take longer than it sort of like that it needs to. We're going to keep the attention sort of like very much on you on this one. Forgive me. No, you'll have to host me on your own, and I'll come and talk to you at length. Don't worry about that. Oh God, yeah, no, interesting. So you came here, right? We just had the Network State conference, and you're fundraising for this for this mission.
Yeah.
I guess just like what are some reflections, I guess, like on having been here, and spent your time here, and you so clearly articulated like that flag of like, okay, you want to build the decentralized version of Slack, right? Or you want to build a more defensive, decentralized, differential, democratic future. You come to Switzerland, right? Yeah. Like, what are people? What about here? How have you found here?
So I found it very positive on the whole. I didn't know what to expect. You hear many, many things. Media has, a great way of framing things in a very interesting light. And so I've been very positively surprised of what I found. I found this to be a really productive place to work, to come and meet the right people. There are a lot of amazing people coming through here. I think the main reflection I would have is, okay, so what now? Like, how are we making sure that this doesn't become the worst possible outcome? This can be like an amazing thing. We can create something very optimistic here. but like with all of these people putting in their time and energy, like how are we making sure that we get the good outcome and not the autocratic or not the negative outcomes that are possible with anything that scales and accelerates in the next few years. And I personally, like, I have a lot of respect for Balaji, and I know the challenges of building something like this for ourselves. And I have, I think, a pretty deep empathy for why you need to sometimes do things in a very centralized manner initially. But yeah, I would definitely be curious to see where things will go from here and where like the real ownership and the real decentralization aspects come in. And I feel like I trust Balaji's experimentational, that's not even a word.
It works.
His nature for experimentation enough that I think it would be too boring for him to not do something like that. But yeah, I'm just curious to see where things will go.
Yeah. And I know. Actually, just like, you know, as someone that's leading one of these movements, and again, that empathy for Balaji, again, it's something that I feel a lot as well. I think one of the first conversations I had with him here, I turned up and I was like, oh yeah, dude, I've done something in this scale, you know? And he was like, James, really? But I was like, you know, at least for me, when I was running these pop-up type things, I was like, you know, I was just always looking forward for the day after it was finished, right? Where you could calm and like you didn't feel that you needed to constantly be of service to sort of like everyone, right? Whereas it's just like infinite here, right? When you've got into this like permanent sort of like place, right? It's like a fairly hard job being, you know, one of the founders, one of the leaders of sort of these companies.
Yeah, things, movements, organization, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it is really hard. It is really hard. I mean, arguably, like our critics would say, it's really hard being an autocrat. But no, it's an incredible amount of work. I think also, like, just my respect for any kind of event organizer has like 100-folded. They're like, people organizing events, pop-ups should just like get so much respect if there weren't people kind of bringing some order.
Meme, right, is that, you know, can't organize a dinner party, wants to start a country, right?
Exactly.
Like that's the welcome to our world. But no, it's amazing. So look, where can how do people to come and participate, to come and build this DIAC future in Switzerland? Like, what are all the ways that people can engage and start helping?
Yeah, that's a good question. We need to actually get much better at providing those. me/Zuitzerland, ZUITZERLAND. Just follow us there for updates. Right now, we're setting it up that the permanent residency will be in place fairly soon. We should have, at the very least, the residency starting Q2 next year, possibly even already in January.
Amazing.
So as soon as we have the full clarity on that, we'll be updating. And yeah, we want to see builders, investors, people that want to make Switzerland their home, also people who just want to come and experience it and maybe build something of their own like this. We're really keen.
Like, you know, I've spent a lot of time in the Alps, you know, last winter, and I was just like, oh my God, we've got to do a pop-up in the Alps, like, you know, and just don't all fucking ski. But, you know, pardon me. But no.
So March is sort of the end of the ski season. We will almost certainly be doing something in March where people can come. And if it's not already in Laax in March, at least we will have ski days. And we will sort that out. Yeah.
Fine. Well, I look forward to it. I can't wait to visit. If anyone's not been to Switzerland, I recommend it super highly. Thank you for coming on and saying hey. And pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks
Awesome.
a lot, James.
Thank you again for being with us. And now for our next amazing guest, Carvas from Delta Y. Thank you for being here and being on Ârc Live. Why are you here at Ârc? Why are you here at Network School?
A bunch of reasons. So initially we had planned to come to Token, right, in Singapore. And so we knew we were going to be in the region at least for a week or 2 weeks, right, around September, October. And then we got introduced by some crypto mutual friends, I think some months back. And then I learned about Ârc. And then I think I told you, like, I would be super down to check out the network school and the place if I can bring my team too.
Yep.
Right? That was like a big thing for us because we're all working in person. We're huge fans of in-person work.
Yep.
And we've been doing that for the past like 4 or 5 months in stealth. And so you were like, yeah, fly them over, bring them too. And then we arranged the rooms. And then the last requirement was, can we have an office in the building? Which I think is a great story and a great testament to how fast like things move at the network school.
Or how slow, depending on which way you want to look at it, right?
I do think they move very fast because when we landed, the office wasn't ready, right?
Yes.
It was just like a bare room that didn't even have painted walls.
Yep.
And then I think 4 or 5 days later, we had a functional office that the team was working out of.
Yeah, it was like the electrics weren't working, the AC wasn't working, there was no desks, no monitors, no chairs, no walls
Wi-Fi.
that worked, no Wi-Fi. And then this sort of like, it was like Avengers assembled around you, right?
100%.
Just about gradually.
But that's part of the editability that Balaji talks about at the network school, right? Like even the corridor and all of these space that we're on, it changes from day to day, right? I left 1 week to go to Singapore. When I came back, we had new offices in the corridor.
Yeah, dude, on the first couple of days, right? Like people would like go to a different room for an hour, come back, and then suddenly it looked different, right? It was just like kind of crazy. I appreciate your kind words. I do wish we'd been. I'm very glad that people were actually here to come for Ârc particularly and experience it actually literally being assembled and realizing just like what was being done to do that. But I do wish we were sort of like it had been a couple of days faster.
But just one note on that, I think a lot of the countries that are the leading examples for network states as well. So let's say the UAE and Singapore, right, which is the examples that we keep coming back to. A lot of the people there now are very proud of the country they live in because they saw the come up.
Yes.
And I think that's the same case in companies, right? The people that were early at Google, the people that were early at Facebook, and they saw the come up. They saw all of the imperfections getting worked on, and then eventually building these world takeover empires. I think those are the people that become the loyalists and the core of the communities that then can present the project and the outcomes to the world really well, because they saw that before it was like that.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. Well, again, I'm so grateful that you're here and that you did bring your, kind of like bring your team. I think it's, part of the reason I was so keen for that to happen is that, again, like most of the people here, I'd say are probably like earlier stage, sort of at network school. And, there have been a couple of teams that kind of like come through, but actually like ensuring that there is a product here that actually like works really well for teams, I think is like an important thing, right? Again, I think like we're going to see an increasing number of the Epic founders that are here, raise rounds, hire, build those teams, have those offices here and just sort of like be here integrated from sort of the start, but actually later stage teams can just come and join, I think it sort of works. Has it, I guess I just like how, like beyond there being an office, seeing that built coalesce around you, like how have you found the experience? How's it been versus sort of expectations?
I would say way above expectations, honestly, both for me and for the rest of the team. I think when we were coming, we were reading this tagline that the NS uses, which is frontier, not fancy. And they're like, well, they're probably making us ready for something that's going to be like very underdeveloped or whatever, right? Because if you use that tagline, it's probably to kind of prepare people's expectations. But I honestly think that everyone has been really liking it a lot. In terms of work-life integration, that's a big thing that we've been talking about, in the sense that even back in Portugal, in the office that we're building and that we're using, people either live in the office or they live right by the office, right? Which is the same exact setup that we have here. Which is we're living like 1 floor above the office. Right? The breakfast is inside of the same tower. The gym is 5 minutes walk away from the office and from the rooms. So that's the exact setup that we like, right? We like to work 12 hours a day. 6 or 7 days a week, and having that office, that all set up around the office really allows us to push harder there. So I would say definitely way above expectations on all levels, right? Community, preparation, speed of execution on all of the physical parts. We're really, really, really happy.
No, no, it's super cool. I do think it is a great place to go and lock in and get work done.
Yeah.
You know, like it again, you just like everything is sort of taken care of.
100%. Like my co-founders were saying that this has been the most productive month that we've had as a team, right? And I think just those initial examples are the things that can actually make the next 5% team, right? And the next 6% team, these early stage companies, actually come, right? And try it out.
Yeah. Do you think everyone's getting a healthier pattern of life here as well?
I would say so. Probably more on the sleeping side, because some of our guys have very irregular sleeping schedules when they work back home, and I think here everyone has been able to be a little bit healthier. I would say I try to be healthy like most of the time, so I haven't seen that big of a difference. But I think the rest of the team definitely has felt that.
No, it's great. It's great. And one of the things I think I try and always encourage the founders here to do is to just like, you know, you need to work as hard as possible, but you've got to like constantly try and optimize yourself such that you can have this like sustained pace that you can sustain for like 2 decades.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so, just looking after yourself as part of that, I think is important. I think again, here, it just makes it easier to do that.
Yeah.
That's part of why I'm like quite comfortable being here as well at the minute, right? It's like, just like, it's much easier to be healthier here, despite my cough. That's not NS's fault. That's like the
and I would say like
token.
over the last weekend, we invited a few people and a few friends of ours that work in venture or work in crypto to come over, right, and check it out for a couple of days. And they stayed in Airbnbs around the place. And then they were coming in and visiting the office, spending some time working with us and all of that. And I think the reaction has been overwhelmingly positive from those visitors too.
I mean, it's been a great couple of weeks with all the people that are coming through and seeing what's happening here. But no, okay, Carvas, like, so like Delta Y, like what are you actually building? What are you guys all working on so hard here?
Yeah, so we basically want to build the best incentives company in the world, right? And that starts out, and we've started doing these kind of slow rollout, right, of the company and slowly coming out of stealth. We essentially, TLDR, right, believe that incentives are the most powerful growth lever that any network, any institution has access to, right, in the world. That's very explicit and very obvious when you look at crypto and DeFi, which is all of our backgrounds, where users, volumes, capital, liquidity, builders are all very mercenary and they move really fast between venues, right, and between networks. And it's a very hyper-competitive space, right, crypto and DeFi protocols. And that's why I think incentives have become so explicit and so aggressive. But we think that any hyper-competitive market as a whole will eventually lead to the same kind of Nash equilibrium of everyone, all of the players, all of the competitors being forced to incentivize a lot. And if you're forced to incentivize a lot for demand and usage and the network effects that you're trying to bootstrap, you might as well do that really well, right? So that's where we come in. We basically want to develop all of the underlying data infra and the data layer to allow any network at all to develop their incentives on top of, right? That starts out with DeFi protocols and blockchains and exchanges, but that can be applied to fintech companies, it can be applied to marketplaces, and eventually it can be applied to cities and countries too. We think that the first organizations and the first networks at the city level that are going to actually be able to compete like companies do are going to be either charter cities or special economic zones or network states. Because they're very agile, they're very tech forward, and they totally get it, right? Most of the people building in this space come from tech startups, from venture, from crypto, which are environments where that's the case already. And so we think that eventually in the future, the global competition for talent, capital, and companies is just going to keep going up only. And we think those are the building blocks of any network effects at the country level or at the city level. And those three things are becoming more competitive and more fought over, right, and more sought after than ever been before. So if you think about talent, right, like the people that I've worked with for the past 3-4 years, they can live anywhere in the world, right? The people that work in these crypto protocols or work at the top startups, they can just freely move, right? They're obviously getting paid a lot. They're normally relatively young without a lot of tie-ins to their local place, and they're very mobile. And they're eventually going to keep going to places that treat them the best, right? From an incentives perspective, but also from the overall setup. The exact things that we've been talking about in the beginning of the conversation.
Yes.
We think capital is the same, right? Like my parent generation was basically forced to invest in Portuguese real estate as the one place to park capital in. And now for us, right, we can invest in any global market any stock index, any crypto assets, and even most of the real estate markets around the world quite easily. And then companies, it's the exact same too, right? So a bigger and bigger share of global GDP is going to be made up by companies that are either tech companies or finance, right? And kind of huge AUM funds, right? Both in venture, private equity, hedge funds, whatever. And we think that tech and finance is very non-material, right? It's not like in the past where GDP was made up by factories and shops and shopping malls and whatever that had physical locations that they had to stay in, and hence the GDP was much more locked in those geographies. But now a bigger and bigger share of the global GDP and a bigger and bigger share of global market cap is going to be able to move. And we think that whenever that happens, the competition for jurisdictions to attract these top of the world companies is also going to keep going up only. And so with that in mind, we want to build the data layer for countries and cities in the long game to be able to optimize the incentives and the operations to actually bring in those three factors that make up their network effect.
And can we bring that down to like a really practical level? So like right now, what is the sort of like work that DataWise is doing?
So I would say we have two main aspects of the company right now. So most of the company is still focused on crypto and DeFi clients and customers and partners. And these are some of the fastest growing DeFi protocols in the world, right? That we partner with at a very deep level. A lot of the times we partner with them on an upside basis as well, because we want to work with partners that we actually think can actually win and take over and become the power law winners. Just like we did before individually, right? Me and my team. And so on that side, we're basically offering two main things. We're offering the deepest data that anyone is building in DeFi. We think that, right? Even as a young company. And we're doing that for vault companies. We're doing that for restaking companies. We're doing that for other DeFi protocols on the lending side, etc. And then on top of that, we're building liquidity programs. So that is the actual design of the incentives and the formulas and the math and the issuing and implementation of those incentives to bring liquidity from on-chain to them. So this is one of the sides. That's the DeFi and crypto side. And then the thing that we're slowly experimenting with and rolling out more is on the network state, special economic zone, charter city side. Right, so there we're building the early versions of what's going to become a city OS, right, an operating system for cities, and the data layer for cities and countries. And so we're very heavily focused on just the data side to start out with. We think that's where we can add the most value, the fastest, and we also think that's going to be the probably highest leverage thing for them to look at these early stages, right? So there, what we're building is we're building pilots with some of the initial network sites and pop-up villages and special economic zones around the world, where we're building all of the data tooling and all of the dashboarding software that would allow them to run like a tier A company runs in the world, right? Like Robinhood runs in the world, or like a Stripe does. So this is anything from conversion funnels, right? From all of the conversion funnels from first point that they're made aware of the pop-up or network site up until they become the most valuable type of customer, which can be someone that signs up for long-term, someone that buys real estate in the place, someone that moves their company to the place, right? Whatever is the most valuable KPI, and they're mapping the funnel there. And then the second thing is kind of these internal lists of members' ranks, and then their contributions to the overall community, right? So this is also very widely spread in traditional companies and in crypto too. But in any community like Ârc, like the Network School, like Prospera, or even in a special economic zone, you kind of have a way of mapping the contributions of everyone that's there, right? Did they refer people, right? How long did they stay? Did they buy real estate, or are they just leasing stuff? Did they publicly talk about the place, right? So all of the actions that you would want to track, we want to bring that level of data depth to these network states.
Yeah, no, it's super, super interesting, right? And I guess like, what's interesting is that for us to avoid just becoming the same sort of organizations as existing governments where they have no idea what's going on, and they don't know which levers to pull to that actually change things, etc. Right? Like that's sort of inevitable unless you get on top of the data challenges and like actually understand what the hell is going on and happening with the people in the project that you're sort of like working on.
100%. And our thesis is that the data at the actual cities, the actual big cities of the world, is so undermined that it's almost criminal. Right? Like company directors and company executives have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. But I think the leaders of cities and countries should also have the same level of responsibility of managing it well to their stakeholders, which is their citizens and residents, right? But also the companies and the other components of the stakeholder base. And so next year, we're also going to be running a lot of these initial pilots of the CityOS with actual cities. A couple of cities in my home country, right, that we're going to close, and then some around the world too.
Amazing.
But initially smaller ones where they're agile, they can experiment, and that we can prove case studies and results with. And then from there, we're going to announce our round early next year too. And then from there, we're just going to be scaling it out to more and more cities, more and more countries.
Did you see like a public view on this data set 100%. As well as like a private sort of like view? Yeah. What does like I think even like what would a community dashboard look like for Ârc, for NS? Like, what are you thinking on that?
So the way we're building it is 3 levels. This is actually the first time that we're talking about it publicly, which is cool. But we're going to have 3 levels, right? So we have on the backend side, the thing that we're calling the CityOS. The CityOS is ingesting data from a bunch of sources, right? Some of the sources are going to be pre-existing data sources that these communities or these cities already have, that we're just going to be integrating into the CityOS, to the backend. And then some of the other ones are data sources that we're going to have to mine ourselves. So we will have these 4 deployed engineering concepts from Palantir, which are going to be data engineers and data scientists that will actually mine and set up the systems to ingest new data sources into the CityOS. And then from there, our partners have a choice in what they want to make public and what they want to keep private, right? So the backend is going to have all of the data that's being mined and ingested. But then let's say you, right, with Ârc, or the leader of some existing city in the world, will have a modular kind of dashboard that allows them to decide what's going to be made public to everyone online. And that's a public dashboard that comes out of that automatically. And that's for anyone with an internet connection to just see what's happening, right? So some data you want exposed like that. Then there's going to be an intermediate level, which is kind of a set of dashboards that you can customize with the data you have in the backend for just specific stakeholders. So those are going to be your investors, your citizens, your residents, right? The people in the middle. And then you're going to have the internal management dashboard with all of the data that's been collected from the start. And that's for the leaders, right? That's for either the mayors or the owners of the special economic zones or the kind of executive team running the network sites. So we're going to have these 3 levels, and it's going to be fully customizable on whatever the partner or the client wants to expose at any level of publicity or private.
That's so interesting. We just like whack a screen up and do a demo for everyone for this whenever you're ready for it. But okay, well, just maybe some closing thoughts, right? Again, like clearly you're building products to basically help people build. It's not just incentives, right? It's just like to run their organizations, their societies, their cities in a 21st century. This is absolute best in class fashion, basically, right? And I guess that you're constantly thinking about how that. I guess that maybe is there a some parting advice that you might have for Balaji, for James, for Isla that was just on before you, based on how you see the world of incentives and your experience?
Yeah, I would say even deeper than incentives, because we think incentives is just one of the levers you can pull once you have the data. But I think I love this management sentence. I forget who said that in the beginning, but it's what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed, right? That's what we think just across any organization, any network. We were using this initial slogan for Delta Y, which is quantitative growth for networks. We think that networks can be anything, right? Can be the networks in a blockchain, can be the network of the users in a marketplace, in an Airbnb, or it can be the network of people, companies and talent in a city or in a country. And we think that the same level of data depth and the same level of analysis and even talent that's applied to the problem should be applied in all levels of scale, especially in the biggest level of scale, which is countries, right? But it isn't at the current stage, in big part, because a lot of the governments around the world are not able to attract the absolute best engineers to work on these problems, right? And so that's why we think it should be a company from the private sector coming in, attracting these best engineers and taking the same level of exactness and of grind that you've seen and of software engineering and even software artistry, like we call it at Delta Y, and apply that level of execution to the biggest problems in the world, which is how to manage and how to build and how to bootstrap
Okay. Tomas, mate, how you doing? Oh, you're sporting a Shanghai Woo t-shirt today. Did you run out of fresh clothes?
I have, yes, definitely. The laundry situation is perhaps, one of my least favorite things about the network school.
It's interesting. It's actually, whenever I talk about how like everything is just sorted for you, laundry, like, is sort of the stuff that you have to sort out somehow, right? There's like several different things several different ways you can get laundry done, right? Like you can drop a bag off. There's not like the hotel will just do it for you, right? There's also a laundry service where they will just do it for you as well, right? Or you can go and do it yourself, or you can wash it in your sink, right? But we don't have the robots that are coming into our room yet, picking up the laundry and doing it ourselves without us having to engage a little bit there. But hey, this is great. It's adjacent to Web3 and the best, so people are giving out free t-shirts almost every day here, right?
Yeah.
But how are you, mate? When was our first conversation?
I want to say perhaps around 2017. And actually, you know what? I think even potentially before that, when you were working on your cloud kitchen startup, I think we did have a brief interaction around that, actually. Yeah.
So it's been a little bit while. And what's interesting with this, right, is that I think like through all of that history, the thing that you've probably cared most about is this, well, what's your phrase that you use on all of your profiles at the minute? Like new cities, new worlds, new mankind. What's your little catchphrase?
That is my little catchphrase right now.
Yeah. Is it exactly that? Did I get it right?
New cities, new worlds, new mankind.
I did, yeah. But you've been talking from that hymn sheet for a long time, right? Like, why did you start caring about this, and when did you start caring about this?
I actually can't remember, but I think I definitely wrote my first email to Patrick Friedman back in 2011 and got a reply. I think at that point I felt like ready to do something in the space.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know how to get into the space. There was not really any space to get into back then.
Yeah.
And I think I just got into it kind of through the standard, reading libertarian blog posts online, and this felt like something you could actually, do rather than sort of just read about, learn about. And I've kind of kept track of the space, and then in 2020 was my first opportunity to actually get into it and start building.
What was that first email to Patrick?
It is embarrassing, and I felt like I needed to find a niche in this space.
Sure.
And I think it was something around space colonization.
What's embarrassing about space colonization? Again, just ahead of your time.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of this email?
I do.
Is it on your phone right now?
It is on my phone.
Can we read it right now?
No,
we can't read it right now.
You definitely can't. Because I had no realistic plan of actually getting it done. I think the idea was around.
Tomas, you think that founders in this space typically have realistic plans of how to get stuff done?
I think perhaps to like a larger degree, yes.
Oh, than maybe the 2011 space colonization plan.
Yes,
but okay,
yes,
fine.
Yes.
But the email wasn't in vain, right? Again, you've been thinking about this stuff for a very long time. You reached out to Patrick in 2011. At some point, you started working alongside Patrick, right? So there's a nice segue in that story, at least.
Yeah, totally. It meant a lot to me back in 2020 to get investment from somebody who I considered my greatest inspiration, really. Yeah.
And what was that? What were you working on at the time?
So I came to Patrick in 2020 with an idea for a city in Czech Republic, which is where I'm from. Like, the idea was to turn one of the sort of big military zones where the Red Army used to be stationed into a city. Now, given it is inside the EU, it would not really have been possible to make it a classical special economic zone. The idea was that the city would attract population because there would be a unique visa regime, which is something that already has got like a large degree of precedence, in sort of Czech legislation, and it's not something the EU would have to be involved in. The Czech economy has had I mean, we've had like the lowest unemployment in the EU for the last 15 years. It's basically 2% unemployment, no unemployment. Like the more people you add, you know, like the larger the economy, like very easy to add people.
Sure.
So you could potentially have just a lot of people from Russia, Ukraine, Belarus kind of come in and populate the new city like right away. You know, there'd be enormous demand from people who would want to build factories there like right away. You could own all the land, you could have your own planning policy, you could build, you know, there would be a lot you could experiment with. Sort of, let's call it California forever in Europe.
Do you still fancy doing it, Tosh?
It has not been on my mind, no, I think.
But so this is probably the first project. This is how we got to know each other more deeply, right? Was discussing this project.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember kind of like that. But okay, but anyway, so that's actually not what Patry ended up funding, right?
Correct. You know, his view was, you know, don't touch anything inside the EU, and I've got a project in Bhutan that I'm probably going to fund. It needs a co-founder. You know, do you fancy doing that? And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
What was that? How was that?
You know, I think that was the hardest job I've ever had. Basically, trying to tell companies, like, would you like to move to Bhutan? You know, establish an operation there, and you know, people would be like, what is Bhutan? You know, so I don't ever want to do anything as hard again. I think moving people to the moon would probably be easier once the moon is colonized.
I'm just thinking myself, if we put a map, we should do it right now. We need like a even better production team so that we could print out a map right now, put it here, like a satellite map of the world. And you know, if you asked me to pinpoint London, I'd be very close. How many miles would I be away from putting Bhutan on the map? Yeah, I'd hope you'd be closer.
I mean, yes, I think I'd manage, but like how many miles it's away from London, I wouldn't be able to.
Oh, no, I mean, so just how many miles my pin on the map would sort of like be, right? From London, it's got to be like 6,000 miles. You got to think it's like was it like a 10-hour flight? Is it or?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So
it's a direct fly. You have to fly from.
Oh, okay. But as birds eye, I reckon we should. Someone should fact check us. Like that's the bird flies between London and Bhutan. But okay, so you were basically working on a new city in Bhutan.
Yes.
Which is pretty epic experience to be getting. Again, many years ago from sort of like now, and got investment from Patry. And I mean, I don't know how to dive into, but I guess like, you know, what happened to that city? Why was that the hardest thing in the world? And
yeah, I mean, you know, we were trying to build an economy from scratch in the middle of nowhere, you know, in the least developed part in a very underdeveloped country, which doesn't really have any private sector, doesn't have any private sector protections, has a long history of expropriating private businesses of all sorts. And, you know, it is completely surrounded by China and India. And for, let's say, political reasons, we were not able to bring in companies from either China or India. So we had to go, you know, to other places, which like made it like much more difficult to sign LOIs and you know, find businesses that would be interested. I mean, ultimately, we did not manage to have a strong enough, I guess, proposition for the local elites to fully buy in. The hypothesis was that, you know, like, and again, this is something that's been difficult for people in other places as well, right? Like, how do you actually get, you know, the local elites, the government to sort of sign up for this and to really fully buy in? We thought that there were two unique conditions in Bhutan that would really help us kind of get over the line. Like, one was effectively pressure from both China and India to have the decisive influence in Bhutan. Like, China was literally building villages inside Bhutan to like use them in border disputes with India. You know, we thought, you know, they might want to get rich through building a city to be able to guarantee their independence, to kind of become the Switzerland of Asia. You know, like, we thought that they would be afraid enough. And the other reason was that, you know, Bhutan kind of very rapidly transitioned from kind of classical subsistence, agriculture economic country to, with 8 total fertility rate to, total fertility rate coming to effectively 1, and, not even in a generation, in like 15 years. And to most people just wanting to abandon that traditional lifestyle and moving to cities, but also because they've got effectively like a very easy way of emigrating to Australia. A lot of young people were just leaving Bhutan, and it's one of those places where there's a bit of a sense of doom about the future. There is no future here, and it's because there are no good jobs and people don't want to work in agriculture anymore. So, but there's no private sector, and traditionally everybody who would go to school would just work for the government, but like once everybody started going to school, that's like no longer possible. Anyway, so we again thought there'd be pressure on the government to create jobs, but it was not enough.
No, interesting. Well, maybe just skip to a bit at the end right now. You're here at Network School. Like, why are you over here now?
I'm here to learn from you all. I'm here to learn from you, James. I'm here to learn from Balaji. So I'm working on a new thing that I'm not quite ready to announce on Ârc Live yet. But part of it is having a deep understanding in the space, understanding what works, what doesn't work.
And how have you found being here? Because you were here as well a year ago for the opening day, right?
I came for a few days last year, and I got a bit unlucky with the weather. It was very, very overcast, but it has been like I've enjoyed my experience here a lot these last few days, and I'd definitely come back.
And do you think there was some big takeaways or things that you were surprised about here, or just like, again, as someone that's been thinking about this for a very long time, has been involved in several attempts, is there anything really to take away from this?
I think Network School is being too cautious when it comes to growing. I think I understand the philosophy is let's get to product market first and then grow. Let's not like scale prematurely. But I think that having to manage fast growth and overall population would force them to look for that product market fit harder. So effectively coming up with transformation plans for entire countries, entire economies, and just creating a vertically integrated startup that does that. And you've had Bradford on the podcast, so I'm not going to recap like what he said, but that's definitely the most interesting project. In my mind, that's.
No. It's interesting. But I guess then, okay, like here again, like Network School, you're hanging out for a little bit. Why should people come? I guess do you feel that we have, again, with someone that's been in and thinking about and talking to all these projects for a much longer time, do you think we're at a different moment in time now from like your 2011 email to where we are now? Like, is there some momentum? Are we at an inflection point? Is this the future? Or like, are we still just like so early and there's a long way to go? Has anything changed when you look at stuff over the longer period of time you've been in and around the space?
Yeah, I mean, 2011 was the first year people started building. So in 2011, there were 3 new city projects taking advantage of the new Honduran constitutional change or laws around building private cities. Right now, there are a lot more people building. There are like multiple playbooks. There's the pop-up playbook. There's, I guess, the permanent community playbook. People are trying to go straight to a charter city like alpha cities. So there's a lot more approaches, a lot more projects. I wouldn't say there is a lot more funding. If you looked at like how much has been invested in these projects this year, I mean, we're talking how much has been spent. We're talking single millions.
It's like, trivial.
Like an apartment in Prague. Quite literally. What are we talking about? So I think there's still incredibly early. There's a dearth of investable projects. We yeah, we need more founders that will get things off the ground, right? Whatever they are.
Yeah, that's sort of an interesting way of reflecting on it, right? And just, yeah, there's like very little capital, which is sort of interesting, right? There's probably like a delta there, right? There probably is now sort of opportunity in that regard, right? Like,
yes. I mean, as you were saying, right? Like, yes, we just had a conference last year. We had, the founder of Solana. We definitely have, the attention of the whole crypto ecosystem. And I think for the last few years, they've been asking, okay, like, how do we deploy? Yes, Balaji, we love you. We're interested. We believe in you, but what do we deploy into? Right?
Yes.
And like, I think we in the space need to come up with answers for that. Like, this is a credible business. Please invest in me. And I think the money's ready. Yes.
Do you think it is a credible business? Do you think people can make returns in this space?
I believe they can, but we're just so early. We just haven't really seen anything take money and return it, right? Like, who has raised in this space? Okay, Network School, Praxis. That is pretty much it. If you're talking about like multi-million-dollar investments.
Yeah, I mean, there's been one fund, right? There's been Pronomus, and there's been one fund, Pronomus, that's been doing any investing in this space, right? So like, it's it's very, very small. But I guess this is sort of it, right? As soon as you've proven something, it's no longer a venture risk profile. There's no longer a venture return profile and stuff, right? So this is potentially that moment of inflection where it's ready and it's time to sort of like deploy, right?
Yes, agreed. Yeah.
I think, I mean, I've not been looking at it quite as long as you, but it definitely feels like there's like a different caliber of teams, of approaches, of opportunities, basically, for people to deploy into. So it's it's definitely, yeah, I think it definitely sort of like very interesting from an investor sort of perspective. But it is sort of God, it just does put it in perspective. But it's just interesting. It's just how far we can go. I think we're about to build like the biggest companies that have ever existed. I think was like what we're actually potentially in the business of doing here, right? Like if Singapore was a company, if Dubai was a company, these are, probably, a few X larger than the largest private corporations in the world right now, than any of the biggest sort of like tech companies. And so I think that there is no other asset class really, or no other industry that offers those sort of returns potentially outside of like, the AI lab companies. That ship has probably already sailed. You've probably already missed that boat. It's like, what is the next true $1 trillion opportunity? Yes. It's this and nuclear fission, or like what else is out there? I don't know. Do you agree?
I do agree, but I'm not sure. Like whether it will be founders like from this community that will actually make it happen. I think once, let's say more mainstream founders realize that there is an opportunity here, like they can eat the space, and that may be a good thing. Like, we don't know yet. I think we still don't know what are like the pathways to success, right? So like one thing I'm super excited about is terraforming. So can we use like desalinated water to turn desert into prime agricultural land? Can we, like make sunshine, daylight? Can we use Starlink to just basically create new land that otherwise would not have been viable? And it may be that people who actually start building cities will be people who come at it just from this terraforming perspective, for example. And that is to be seen.
No, it's just like even worth like double clicking on very quickly, right? There are some crazy opportunities that are potentially now possible due to the falling cost of technologies, right?
Yes.
Like desalination. Yes. And if you're looking at some of these sort of regions which are more, desertified, if that's sort of the right word, right? I've definitely seen plans on both the Egyptian side, on the Saudi side, right? To basically just like turn desert land into just beautiful oases, basically, right?
Yes.
Like, and you can do it, and the capital is sort of like there, and the technology is there, right? And just like,
yes, And if we are forecasting 10% annual growth rate, right, and a lot of people are, like, if you think that the future is like least predictable it has ever been, like we should be ready for 100x, 1000x better future. And like, what does that look like? It probably looks like like the desert turned into just like thriving landscape. Right?
Yeah.
Like in the same way, when you think about like what did Europe look like, you know, like 1,000 years ago, it was like swamp and like deep primeval forest. Like, we just never see any of that anymore. Like it would be Europe today would be unrecognizable to people 1,000 years ago. Right? We have terraformed it thoroughly, right? But if you grow again like 100x, 10x, like we will live in a different world.
God, I mean, again, I'm a big fan of some of these sort of like desert regions. I feel quite at home in the desert, so I'm sort of like bit sort of like internal contradiction or internal conflict, sorry, rather, about these beautiful landscapes, making them even more beautiful, perhaps in sort of like a different way. Certainly more livable, right? Yeah, no, there's incredible stuff that can happen in the region. It's very, very interesting. But again, so is there something you would like people to reach out for you on?
Yeah, I guess if you are building in this space, if you're excited about this space, like feel free to reach out. I am looking to back projects in this space. So yeah, feel free to reach out. I guess best way to get me is @TomasRuta on Twitter.
Okay, awesome. Well, again, thank you very much for being here. Thank you again for listening to whatever episode this was of sort of like Ârc Live. You are extremely welcome to join us. It looks even better than the pictures behind us. So please feel free, come and join us over here, and I look forward to seeing you in person. Thank you.